Hi, Luke from Fiends here, and today I'm looking at Axiom Verge. So basically I put in 25 hours into a game that takes 10 hours to complete, and I still haven't finished collecting everything. Yes, Axiom Verge is a huge game full of platforming, sharpshooting and discovery, much in the spirit of games like Metroid and Castlevania. After suffering a fatal injury, our protagonist, a scientist called Trace, wakes up in an alien world. Whilst there, he encounters a number of alien beings who task Trace with helping defeat a despot known only as Athestos. As the story unravels, the very nature of reality is called into question as we bend the rules of the alien world through highly advanced technology. The first thing to strike me about Axiom Verge was the awesome styling. I was taken back to my younger years of games like Metroid, Castlevania and forgotten classic Wolfchild. This is fitting as the game is a self-described Metroidvania game. These type of games focus on exploration and power-ups. They also typically have a little more depth than the average platformer, with well thought out and intriguing stories. For Axiom Verge to succeed though, it couldn't just remind me of those old games, it would have to play like them too. And holy shit does it play like them. The controls are tight and intuitive. It's a game that is easy to pick up but hard to master. This is due to creatures, traps and power-ups you encounter along the way, which mean you will be continually engaging the game in different ways. My only gripe with the controls is the fangled double dash, which is assigned to the directional pad as opposed to a button press. This leads to some unnecessarily frustrating moments, especially during tough boss fights. The enemies themselves are fairly generic but range from laughably weak to teeth-grindingly difficult. Fortunately, the sheer amount of cool power-ups such as the iconic Kilver means there is a weapon or tool well suited for anything you encounter in the game. You can also traverse the game via tools like grappling hooks and the field disruptor, which can be used to alter the environment, as well as enemies, which adds a sense of strategy and puzzle solving into the mix. The coolest power-up in my opinion is the drone, a small creature that you can use to scout ahead and fight enemies. At times, Axiom Verge feels almost impossible to uncover as it's so vast and chock full of secrets, some of which require a sharp eye, others a sharp mind. Unfortunately, not all the time I put into the game was pleasant. This was due mostly to some momentary design flaws. For example, there is a particular section of the game that took me hours to figure out due to a puzzle that was not very well implemented. The next moment came with a boss who, in a sharp turn from other bosses, was more of a grind of health rather than a battle of skill. These moments were not insurmountable though, especially if you take your time to fully explore the game, bolstering your health and finding new power-ups. The more you put into the game, the more it rewards you. The difficulty level also takes a sharp spike towards the end of the game, which isn't especially surprising, but I felt the game doesn't balance your newly acquired abilities as well as earlier in the game. Again, if you take your time to explore the game's world, these areas are not so bad. However, it may result in some dreaded retreading. I love the general design of the game, however it isn't as visually appealing as games like Guacamelee or Ori and the Blind Forest. This is mostly due to a map that feels like a mishmash of ideas, but for the vast majority of the game, exploration is incredibly fun. There are tons of fantastic bosses to face along the way, and it all revolves around an intriguing story that is reminiscent of sci-fi films like The Matrix. I absolutely loved the breadth of power-ups, weapons and abilities. This for me was the most rewarding aspect of the game. I squealed like a schoolgirl upon finally getting the infamous flamethrower. Also, the drone is amazing, and in conjunction with the field disruptor lead to some awesome puzzle solving. After stumbling awkwardly through the game's jagged world, eventually you will move through it like a retro god. Overall, Axiom Verge is an incredibly fun if slightly flawed game. It's certainly the best Metroidvania style game I've played in a long time, and I highly recommend you go out and play it. Don't forget to check out our other videos, don't forget to rate and subscribe, and check out our website and Facebook channels as well, and I'll catch you next time for more reviews.